Hello everybody, Andrew Casey at Hypersanitybooks. Today we're taking a look at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Where it all began with the two indie authors, and that's the main focus of today's video. There will be a few things that we'll touch on. I can't touch on everything, though there are some different writing tips and suggestions that may inspire you, especially for indie authors. There are a lot of different opportunities and ways you can present your work of art. Otherwise, let's get into it. Number 10, 1983. It all began in 1983 where the two authors were working and collaborating ideas. Some of the inspiration was drawn from the Daredevil comics, also from Bruce Lee with martial arts. Also the names are from Italian artists that are famous. Though with this beginning in collaboration, it's something to think about if you are working with someone closely on a project. You could have someone work heavily on illustrations and someone else on the writing. There's just a different way on how the two collaborated to build this work of art. Number 9, Mirage Studios. Kevin Eastman and Peter Layard both created this business together, and that's something you may want to consider. If you are an indie author, you should have your own business within all the works that you do, especially if you are beginning to work in with other authors and doing more publications. Even though you may publish through a company like I did with iUniverse, Hypersanitybooks is still on the back cover. I also have the smaller logo, camera, in the spine. So with their business in 1984, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles became a huge success. Even though it was only limited copies that were printed in the black and white format, a lot of people engaged with it because of the type of story that it was. And that's something to always consider. Sometimes your origins may not be pitch perfect, but you can build a fan basis and keep building from there. So building your own business around your art is a good way to keep your copyrights protected. Number 8, violence to science fiction. So it started off as a violent comic, as we know, and here's some proof. Within the first issue, you can see that it is a heavy tone of violence using the weapons. The weapons is a way of telling the characters apart, though when they came to colour, that was the only way you could tell the characters apart, was some of the dialogue and the weapons, because they all had the same coloured bandana when it was put in colour. Also, there was a transition. The two collaborated that they liked science fiction and had other ideas, and with more time for illustrations, they were able to test on things. And that's another beauty of being an indie author. They don't have to explain themselves to anyone to take a chance. Number 7, adding new characters. Through the comic books, the two have created a lot of different characters. The science fiction element allowed them to break away into some different directions. I didn't feel it was repetitive because each different type of mutation was something unique. There were also a couple other characters that I did enjoy, such as the Yellow Turtle. She was apparently done with a blood transfusion from Leonardo that led to her to be saved and mutate, but she also has the troubled past. There's also been a pink turtle. There was one with a black sash, but I could never find anything else since. I do distinctly remember, though, that he was a significant character with a similar type of gauntlet to Shredder. So sometimes science fiction can give you some other ideas to create other characters onwards, and that's where the beauty of indie authors comes into an infinite potential to try some new things. Number 6, original cartoon. We've all heard about the original cartoon. A lot of the different pictures are still out today, as we can see with the shirt. So there is something about this transition that allowed the franchise to boom into something else because it was something memorable. And then there became some other challenges because there was so much outsourcing. Same with Mattel with the toy line. It was a popular children's line of toys, and I notice even the original concept toys are still being put on the shelves today. It's a different way of how you can market your products using other companies to help push that, though it did present some other challenges later on. Number 5, the offers are rolling in. So there are a lot of offers that start to come the more you produce. Though I always digress, there are a lot of scams out there and a lot of traditional paths and other companies. You need to be careful what you're signing to, because you can lose a lot of your copyrights. And that's one thing. I've known a lot who have had movies done about themselves, such as Machine Gun Preacher.
Helping you kids is about the only good thing I've ever done in this life. You got no idea what I'm saying, do you?
And then, after the movie comes out, I saw him in stand-up interviews where he has had to explain and have open Q&A to clarify a lot of mistakes the movie's done to the real story. And he doesn't hold back with the grittiness of what he's talking about with his history. Moving forward, though, that's something to think about. You can start to lose creative control when you're outsourcing too much to bigger companies. And once they start to own those copyrights, like doing a movie biography about someone, you lose creative control. Number 4, working environment.
Turtles will save some money and self-publish it. We don't have to get another rejection letter. We don't have to do anything, and let's just have fun with it.
Kevin Eastman talks about this as one of the bigger points, is knowing your working environment. So when you are working whatever it is you're working on, make a nice environment in your office, at your home, wherever it is that you do your creative process. Make the environment nice. And when you see an office like this, you can certainly see he's got his head in the game. And that's something where he keeps drawing inspiration from. Even though there are some creative ideas and creative control that was lost, he's still trying to hold on to what he cherished to keep moving forward in working on some other works of art. Number 3, crossovers. There have been different crossovers with the franchise, including Power Rangers. Yeah, I couldn't go for that. I honestly just could not give that a try. But then Ghostbusters? It sounds strange, but that's the beauty of art, is sometimes it's collaborating with different companies. And you may be a small independent business, and I know there are different smaller comic book companies, such as another one I've reviewed before, JRD Comics. He has collaborated with other small comic book companies, and they're building up together quite well. So that's something to think about between graphic novels and comic books, that you can do crossovers between each other's franchises, and it's a different way of pushing out what you have. And always remember, some of the different comics that come out may not get too many sales, or they do sell up quick because there's limited supplies. Which makes you wonder, what is the rarest comic book in the Ninja Turtles franchise? Number 2, rare comics. The 2 rarest comics, and I'll start with number 2 first, of course, is the original comic first print, Eastman and Layard's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The original first print can sell up to $88,000. There are different second and third prints of the original comic. Also, that's one of the things that makes the industry hard. Sometimes you want to follow a story and you can't get your hands on the comic. Ebooks are slowly changing that today. I do like certain graphic novels. So with, as I mentioned, JRD Comics with Saint graphic novel, I don't mind his work. He has collaborated with other artists and comic book artists, and because they keep to their art, I also find they don't sell things for the ridiculous price that some comics do go up in value. And Stan Lee talked about this. When certain Marvel comics came out, collectors would collect them up because they would be valuable later on as they got rarer. But what is the rarest Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic? Well, it doesn't quite sell as much as the original comic book, though the only difference is Turtle Mania number 1 with a gold cover, and this is actually the only difference. And it can sell up to the high end of $88,000. There are only 10 copies that were ever made with the gold cover. So you might say it's as rare as a golden ticket. Number 1. What is canon? One thing to start off with the 2 men, Eastman and Layard, when they do meet some years later, there is a certain part to where it all began where they did have a space living together and would share ideas between each other. There was also a time when they first met between one studio to another studio. And that's one of the things. It was originally Eastman's idea and some of the playing around. Here is original artwork of Michelangelo. It was inspired by Bruce Lee, and what could we make as a ridiculous animal to fit within this because of the beast kind of mentality that Bruce Lee had with his martial arts. Now, the big question, what is canon? Well, it's not the original cartoon series, it's certainly not the movies, and then that god-awful live-action series, definitely not. And a lot of spin-offs. That's sometimes just created for a bit of fun, and sometimes when extra work of art is created, it creates revenue to help for what is canon. And what is canon? Canon is the original series that they worked on. Anything within Mirage Studios is canon. Also, the closest thing that is canon and confirmed by Eastman and Layard is the 2003 cartoon series. That is the closest thing to being, it is considered canon. Otherwise, other things are just spin-offs that just don't quite hit the canon story. And then sometimes another interpretation is not necessarily bad. Although the most recent film, I did not like it. There were some elements I did like with the story. I found it took a nice direction. Though when you start changing characters to such extremes, such as April O'Neil, yeah, I will lose interest. And that's something that does bother me with a lot of other franchises and other companies as they keep overtaking and working on other things forward. But that's another story and shall be told another time.